Hello and welcome to my video series on native plants called Meet the Natives. These are plants that are native to the southern Piedmont in places like Georgia and South Carolina. I'm in Georgia, and today's plant, we're going to kick this off with the pagoda dogwood, also known as the alternate-leaf dogwood, or Cornus alternifolia, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and how it's different from the more famous Cornus florida, the dogwood that we all celebrate at dogwood festivals around the South. One of the obvious things you can see here is that the flower is completely different. Not as showy as the bracts that are on the Cornus florida. It's almost like a creamy yellow mimosa type flower. These are very popular with the bees. Right now I don't see any on it, but earlier when I first came out here there were several on these flowers, and they do come on here as more of them come out. The second thing to know about this is that while the flower is different, the leaves are also different, and there are alternate leaves, which means they alternate from the stem. So they're not directly opposite one another. You can see, it's maybe hard to see here, but they come off the stem in an alternating pattern as opposed to being opposite one another. Maybe it's a little bit clearer here. So it's like one and then another, then another. And so that's a big difference from Cornus florida, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. The bark here, it may be hard to see, is fairly smooth. This one's been torn up a little bit by the antlers of a buck. We get some deer back here, and they kind of come out in a cluster. New spikes they kind of grow up in a thicket, and they're often green when they first come up, which probably gives rise to the name green osier, which is another name for this plant. And then you can see some fresh ones coming up down there underneath a broken one. This tree gets pummeled by branches sometimes in storms, and it's fairly easy to break, but it also comes back very easily. But it's very important for wildlife. The berries that form when the flowers go, are very popular with the birds. It's not as common here in the southern Piedmont. It's very common, not very common, but more common up north. But it does sometimes grow down here. It is native to this area. You see some bugs eating on the leaves here. Just compare this to Cornus florida, which is the flowering dogwood. Look at the bark. If these two plants are not blooming, one of the quickest ways to figure out whether it's a Cornus florida is whether it has this scaly bark instead of a smooth bark. And also Cornus florida gets a bit bigger. I'm going to show you the leaves on another Cornus florida over here. This one, you can see here that the leaves come off in an opposite pattern off the stem. So you'll often see them looking more like little pairs of opposite leaves as opposed to a cluster of alternating leaves. So really the flowers, the bark, and the pattern of leaves are quick ways to figure out which one of the dogwoods you're encountering in the woods. I hope that gives you some idea about these two important wildlife plants that we find here in the southern Piedmont. Have a great day. Bye.